Hi everyone, I wanted to come on and do a little video about my basic snail care setup because I've had so many questions over, particularly on Instagram, about the things that I use, what I do. So I thought, let's do a video about it. So here I am. First off, I just want to say that I am no snail expert. I am just learning as I go. I've only rescued my first snail in June. So this is all very, very new to me. And there are loads of people out there who will know way more about snails than I do. So please, if you need expert advice, please go to the experts. But this is just me doing what I do, helping the snails that I find. So first off, I've had a lot of questions about what is the white stuff. The white stuff I use is calcium paste, and you can get loads of different ones. I just get it off Amazon for now. It's calcium carbonate powder. This is a vegan and food grade one, so for human consumption. Basically mix it with a little bit of filtered water and it makes a paste. That's all it is calcium carbonate powder. I use this over things like eggshells or cuttlefish simply because I'm vegan and I wanted a vegan alternative. And to me, this is just really easy and snails seem to love it. So that's a calcium carbonate powder. The other things, what else do I use? Okay, I use these dishes. I use these dishes to put the paste in, and I use these dishes to put the food in for the snails in their bigger enclosure. They're just really easy for the snails to go on, and they're really easy to keep clean. That's those. Again, I just bought these off Amazon. They're nothing special. They're just the things that I thought would work well and look quite cute. Simple spray bottle for misting. You want to fill it with filtered water, and this is for misting the enclosure. There we go. Then this is a simple protein mix that I've made up with using things that were in my cupboard. So again, being vegan, I didn't necessarily want to feed my snails animal protein, worms, etc. I think that you can feed them like those dried mealworms, which I wasn't comfortable with. So I've gone with a vegan version. So it's really just ground up in a pestle and mortar. It was, trying to remember what was in there, oats, flaxseed, sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. I think that was all that was in there, and I just ground it up, you know, really as fine as I possibly could in a pestle and mortar. And then again, I mix it with filtered water and make a sort of porridgey paste with it, and then pop it on something like this, and then pop it in their enclosure for them to get some protein. Okay, so that's just the very basics there. So when they arrive, I've had the question of what do I do with them when they first arrive? So our newest arrival is called Mavis, and she's really poorly, so I've not brought her down to show you today. So the next newest arrival was Freddie, and Freddie was actually found in our backyard, and he is in this container here, this ice cream container with cling film on the top with air holes. Now he's actually, I've shown you this before, I've cleaned it out on purpose because these things here and this thing here are snail poop. And this is a really good sign. So for a good few days, Freddie didn't do anything. He just ate some calcium paste and slept, really. He liked to sleep hanging upside down off the top, but he just really just slept. And I thought, are you ever going to eat anything, Freddie? And then finally yesterday, he decided all he wanted to do was eat. And that's why there's lots of poop everywhere. And I thought I'd leave that on there just to give you an idea. And the reason it's the different colours is that obviously the orange poop is because he's been eating sweet potato. The darker poop is because he's been eating the courgette, and the whiter stuff is because he's been eating the paste. So the snail poop tends to reflect what they've eaten. So really all he's in there in like a hospital bed is he's got dampened kitchen towel. Again, I spray it with the water so it's damp. Then he's got some food in there, he's got the calcium paste in there, and then I spray all the sides of the walls with the filtered water. Then I put the cling film on with holes in it, and obviously spray that as well. So it keeps the humidity up to stop them drying out. You don't want it wet, but you do need it damp and humid. So that's Freddie. And then when Freddie's better, once his once his shell starts to heal itself, they'll start getting like a thin sort of membrane over the gaps that are damaged. And when that happens, you'll notice it starts to rebuild itself. And once he's a bit better, he's only been with us about 10 days. I'll give it at least another week, see how he is in there. And then once he's better, he gets to move into the big house. So I will show you the big house now. Let's move him over there. So I say big, it's not very big at all, but this is the big house. So I'll show you the setup here. This is just bought off, I can't remember whether it was Amazon or eBay, but one of the two. And it's a very simple setup. So we'll open it up here. And you might be able to see, this is Sammy. This was my first ever rescue snail, Sammy. He's absolutely doing brilliantly. There's Sammy in there. If I turn this round, you might even be able to see he's got some of the paste on his shell. But here, you might even be able to see where his shell's starting to heal. And that's all because of the calcium paste. So he's starting to rebuild his shell there. So that's Sammy. And then actually, I'll show you Susie as well. There's only two in here at the moment. And Susie is buried right down here. And it's very interesting because they've got very different personalities. Sammy likes to hang out on the sides and on the roof of the container, whereas Susie tends to prefer to be buried down most of the time and just come out at night. So we've woken Sammy up here, as you can see. So as you can see, I've got one of these dishes here with his calcium paste on. Big dollop of calcium for Sammy. Then inside, how we've set it up here is we've got underneath here is a layer of this stuff. Plantation soil. Oi. Again, this is just stuff I've found from doing my own research, so I'm not affiliated with any of these things. Just got this on Amazon. So this you just soak in the filtered water and it expands like this. It expands like this, and then we can pop that. It's all nice and moist, and then you put that as a nice thick layer on the base, and then on top of that I've got this moss here. I've no idea how to pronounce that, but it's something like sphagnum moss. I'm sure I've done that wrong. Whoever knows, please let me know. But again, same principle, comes in a block and you just rehydrate it in water. So then they've got this lovely, lovely top layer of the moss. And that's it really. And then again, I clean it out every day, a few times a day, to get rid of any poop that might be there. I always clean it using the filtered water. I spray the sides, so I'll do that now, just for example. I don't spray Sammy, but just spray the sides. When this feels a little dry, I'll just go around. I won't do much because it's quite damp now, and spray that, a bit like, you know, spritzing your hair, and just keep everything like that. And there we go. Let's pop it back in. Make sure we don't interfere with Sammy. He's just hidden in a bit there because he's noticed the lid go back down. His little eyes came out. And that's really it. The other thing I would say is I haven't had to come across this yet because Sammy and Susie, they tend to pretty much live very separate lives. I haven't had to deal with any mating scenarios because as I said, Sammy's very much a high up dweller. Susie's very much a bury down dweller. They don't tend to meet very often. So I haven't had to deal with it. However, snails do mate, and I'm not into breeding. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here very much for just quality of life. So what they advise to do is to have a good root through the moss and the soil, sorry. So I tend to lift the moss up and then just go around the soil with a big spoon and just check for eggs. And the eggs look like a clutch of white little eggs. And apparently what you advise to do with them is to bag them up and put them in the freezer immediately. And that stops any embryos from growing. And if you do that really quickly, there's no nervous system, there's nothing intact, so it's not, you know, it's not a horrible thing to do. So I don't want to be overrun with loads of snails, because it is again about quality of life for these snails, these rescue snails. And then they can be disposed of. You mustn't just throw them in the bin, because then they'll all hatch possibly in the bin or in landfill or whatever. So freeze them definitely first, I think, for 48 hours. Thankfully, I haven't had to do that yet, but if I have to, I have to. Is there anything else? Yes, another question was how long they live. As far as I know, they can live around 5 years, but obviously we don't know how old they are when they come to us, so who knows. Another thing is, these guys are living with us here, as will Freddie. Freddie will go in here when he's a bit more, his shell's a bit more recovered. And these guys will live with us for the rest of their lives. May need to get a bigger enclosure as, you know, more snails come. However, when we get a bigger space and we have a proper outdoor space, at the moment we've only got a yard, I'm going to create a sort of like a snail haven, really, so that I can release some back into the wild. And that has to be a process, because once they've been in captivity, their microbiome changes and it can be quite dangerous to just bang them straight back out into the wild. Plus, they get dependent on the food that you give them and things like that. So you'd need to have some sort of soft launch, you know. Again, ask experts about this. But for now, these guys are staying with us because we don't have a safe place to put them. So that's how it is for now. But these guys will always stay with us. But obviously in the future, we can't be overrun with snails. That's not going to do anyone any good. So it will be a case of rehabilitate, release. But for now, these guys are here with us for as long as they live. So that's it. If you've got any other questions, if I haven't, I hope I've covered everything that people have asked. If I haven't covered everything, please just send me a question and I'll do my best to answer it. Like I said, I am no expert. I'm just one person doing their best. So if you have any advice for me, that's great. Any tips, that's great. But mostly I hope that you've learned enough that perhaps you could help some snails that you might see on your journey when you're out and about. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. That would really help. And I'll see you again soon.